Go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the power. Screw Green Bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
And that's the other part of this, is people are insanely jealous of this show. This show gets the best of the best, and it does a different way, with positivity.
He scores!
Ow, my head! No, come on.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family.
Hit those milk thumbs, boys and girls.
Freeze frame.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I have Mr. Green Bean to my this way. I got Mr. Matt O'Leary to my that way. Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm feeling light and feathery. I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a good time, I think, Ryan. I'm psyched.
Matt, how you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. It's always a great time talking Jets football with you guys. And oh, guess what? There's a Jets game this week. It's a preseason game. It doesn't count for anything, but it's still going to be fun to watch. I'm amped up about it.
I'm excited to get into it. O'Leary, I saw your behind the scenes of the studio tour, looking fresh over there.
Thank you. Yes, I've had before I recorded the video, I had a lot of people reach out and they're like, you got to do like a studio tour or something. We want to see the behind the scenes look. So I said, okay, I guess I'll do it. But I was very pleasantly surprised with the overwhelmingly positive response. So exciting times at the O'Leary household, and glad to finally finish it and show it off.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button for us if you enjoy the Talkin' Jets panel. And if you have not done so already, we do have a handful of tickets left for our Week 4 Jets-Broncos ticket group buy extravaganza. We're going to go on the field following the game. We have field access, and then we're going to be tailgating with Tailgate Joe. Food, drink, music, all that stuff included for the tailgate. And then we get to go watch the Jets beat the ever-loving snot out of those Denver donkeys. Stupid dum-dums over there. Love it. Make sure you get over there. TalkinJets.com. You'll find a link in the description down below. All right, boys and girls, we got some information, some topics we got to go through. And I think without further ado, we're just going to go into something that we've been talking about for about a week now, and everyone's freaking out, losing their mind. Thoughts on Joe Tippmann struggling. We saw at the green and white practice, he killed a drive on the 8-yard line. Ball snapped over Aaron Rodgers' head, and we had to settle for a field goal. He's had consistent high snaps dating back to last year's training camp, and we saw some video today of him practicing shotgun snaps with Rodgers, and I'm definitely getting frustrated with it, but I want to hear from you guys. O'Leary, let's get your thoughts.
So I am happy that he did much better today than he has in days gone by. But I'd be lying to you if I said that I wasn't even like just a little bit concerned. I'm not saying that I think this is going to derail the season or that I don't trust him as a starter anymore. None of that. But I do think it's something that is worthy of a discussion. If your center is snapping the ball over your quarterback's head once a game, that's not usually the ideal recipe for success. So I want to make sure that that's gone in the next couple of weeks here. But again, just keep stacking good practice days. Today was a good practice day. They have the joint practice on Thursday and the game on Sunday or Saturday. Saturday? Yeah, Saturday at noon. So hopefully we don't see it at any point over that stretch. That would be a positive for me.
How long do you want to see Tippmann play in this game, Matt?
2 drives.
Ooh,
so I guess
okay.
like the quarter, maybe something like that.
Okay. I was actually thinking like first half, but I guess when you don't have like a really decent backup center, it's probably a bad idea to have him like exposed too much.
Yeah, that was my thought on it. I don't want to see. And apparently, Wes Schweitzer is not the backup center, even though he would be the first man up. Glazer.
Very weird. We'll get into the depth chart in just a little bit here. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Tippmann struggling with the snapping of the football?
Well, did you see that Aaron Rodgers was seen yelling at him about it? Which is, I approve. I think I've said it many times, like when I felt that numerous organizations, but I think Robert Saleh, when guys would traditionally, like whether it's penalties or stupid stuff, and there just seems to be no repercussions. Um, I have yelled so many times, like what you need to do right there is Parcells that shit. You need to get in his face. Enough is enough. One more time, and that's it. That's a wrap for you for the day, kind of a thing. And I think that Joe Tippmann's got the talent. He played center. It's different, of course, and the expectations are higher, and shotgun and all that kind of stuff might not be might not be as comfortable, but he can do it. And you got to get, it's a head thing. You know what I mean? Like this kind of stuff is a head thing. It's not a talent thing. And I like to hear that Aaron Rodgers is getting up his ass. And as a matter of fact, the quote was from Aaron Rodgers, he can take me jumping up his ass a little bit and getting on him. Sometimes you need to do that. I like that. Now, I heard, it might have even been you, Ryan. I forget who it was. But so maybe it was Matt. Somebody said it's a thing until it isn't. Was that you, Matt? I think it might have been Matt.
That sounds like something it could.
Yeah, right. It sounds like Matt. As I said it, I'm like, that feels like Matt. It's like I'm not necessarily freaking out, but it's a thing, and it's gonna be a thing until it isn't a thing anymore. So every day, every week, if it continues, it's gonna become more and more stressful. I look forward to the preseason game and seeing what Tippmann looks like in there. I fancy him a gamer. He looked really good to me last year. He's a hungry, kind of aggressive offensive lineman that I like having on the team. And I think Aaron Rodgers will set him straight. So I'm not worried yet, but I wish it wasn't happening, quite frankly.
I'm concerned. I'm not thrilled. I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully, he gets it ironed out. But when did he start snapping? When was he center last year? Halfway through the season when McGovern went down? Is that about right?
Yes, because his first few games were at guard.
Yeah. So we saw issues with it last year. Nania posted a few different snaps of it. And then we saw it in training camp last year. Dom C, I'm pretty sure, Dom, if you're in the chat, I think actually Dom's on vacation right now. But if I remember correctly, Dom had some concerns between Tippmann and John Michael Schmitz. He wasn't so sure Tippmann was going to be able to operate out of the shotgun quite so frequently. So check one for Dom so far on this. One thing I will give credit for Tippmann is he's been next to Aaron Rodgers through every practice. Like even before the snap over the head at the green and white scrimmage, the week prior to that at camp, he was always around Aaron. He was just trying to pick his brain and just trying to soak up whatever he could. We're maybe talking about him, where he likes snaps. I have no idea what they were talking about, but he was always kind of in his ear, so he's always around him. I do like that Rodgers is holding him accountable. I think it's the same thing, same treatment that he gave to Garrett Wilson. I think it's the same treatment that you'll see him give to any player on this team because he wants to win a Super Bowl and he knows what it's going to take to have that level of dedication and that level of commitment to be able to do it. And as much as guys might get a little frustrated with it at times, it's like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, so you better shut up and listen. So overall, I think this is a good thing for Rodgers. And I'll be honest, I do want to see Tippmann more in the preseason. Even though he's going to be snapping the ball at Tyrod Taylor, I wouldn't be opposed to him playing the whole first half in multiple games until he gets it ironed out. I do not want to go into week one and see one of these arid snaps over top of Rodgers' head. I'm going to be furious if that happens. Although maybe if they wait till they bring in McGovern after week one, his contract is no longer guaranteed at that point. But I would very much like to have at least some type of competition for Tippmann or a little bit of pressure maybe behind him to kind of steer him in the right direction, I think. Matt, any more thoughts on what Green Bean and I have said?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point with him not having any competition behind him, and not just for the bad snaps that have shown up a little bit, but if God forbid there's an injury, which there's a little bit of a scuffle today, and he left for a brief second, and Wes Schweitzer had to come in and snap the ball, right. I know that's Green Bean's favorite guy on the 53-man roster, as we know, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if Connor McGovern or a player like that with some starting experience was here as a backup, as opposed to someone like Schweitzer, who's really more of a guard anyway.
Green Bean, anything more to add about the
Schweitzer?
Tittman?
Schweitzer, he's really more of a terrible guard than he is a terrible center. You know what I mean? So it's like we gotta place these guys right. This is one of the things. Like you guys know, I'm a Joe Douglas supporter overall, but I don't understand why year in and year out we have to have this type of a discussion with the offensive line. It's like, can we just overkill the living shit out of the offensive line? If there's any team that should be concerned and covering for the injury potential, it's us. The last 2 seasons have been abysmal, just decimated by injuries. And we were ill prepared. And there's always this, hindsight, we kind of might have wanted to do the other thing with, and it's like, okay, you drafted a left tackle after signing a left tackle. Fantastic. You have Max Mitchell and Carter Warren, a mid-round pick, and you got Morgan Moses. Fantastic. But then it's like you brought in Jonathan Simpson. You got always injured AVT. You got high snap Tittman. And while I love I'm very excited about that alignment, there's a lot to be concerned about there. And who we have in reserve is Wes Schweitzer, Xavier Newman, and Jake Glazer or Phil Glazer or Bob Glazer.
I don't know what his name is anymore. Too many Glazers. Is that
Harrison Glazer? But it's like, why? Why do we have to do this? Just sign Connor McGovern. He's a $2 million. Just sign him, put him in there, and at least you got that covered. And in a pinch, he can play guard too. He's got versatility. He knows the scheme. He knows the teammates. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And what I think he's doing is that he wants to see if one of these young guys will rise. And I can appreciate that. You got to have room for that to happen, right? You can't expect to see guys if they're relegated to, the third team and all that. I get it. But you really want to, what's more important is that the Aaron Rodgers experiment succeeds. And if we don't sign McGovern because we feel really good about Xavier Newman, and Xavier Newman goes out there and he gets Aaron Rodgers killed, the season is over again. Like, we need to, it's like, yeah, the fence will be enough. No. I know the fence can theoretically hold back whatever you need, but let's put cinder blocks there anyway. You know what I mean? Just in case, because the most valuable asset that we have happens to be standing right behind it. So and I just don't like it. It bothers the shit out of me that we've had this really lax approach to the offensive line last year with, Becton and Dwayne Brown being just kind of the assumed starters, both injured. And it just didn't make, and what did we see? We saw it immediately. It was like from the first snap, we went, oh shit. Oh no, why is Aaron Rodgers running for his life? And I just don't want to see that again. So granted, it's early, guys. It's still early, but I have very little faith in the likes of Xavier Newman, Glazer, and the perpetually on his back Wes Schweitzer.
The main catch comes in. Where did my comments go? Bam! He says, you three are the best. Jets, Jets. Main catch, you're the main catch.
Yes.
Very much appreciate you. What a guy. Hype drops in with a super chat. Thank you so much, dude. It says, Tittman got pulled today for excessive fighting. We need that feisty center to protect Rodgers. He always had snap issues. They are correctable. Look, I like a fiery center. It's something that I got on McGovern's case a little bit about with Zach here. And I kind of brushed it off as like, maybe they're just kind of pissed off at Zach Wilson for making their stats and everything look a lot worse, or the team play poorly. But McGovern never stood up for his quarterback. I don't really get that same vibe from this current offensive line. So I do like the fieriness. I don't mind them kind of, having a little bit of a skirmish here and there. We've seen at least 2 or 3 in the other practices as well. Jermaine Johnson got into it with, I think, John Simpson the one day. and then Lazard and the cornerback we brought in that I cannot think of his name right now. He gave him like a little moss. Yeah, and we got to see a little bit of swinging there as well.
DJ
Matt,
Reed and Garrett Wilson today.
Ah, okay, I didn't see that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the I guess the excessive fighting, and any thoughts on Tippmann being a little fiery?
I don't think it was as much. I heard he was getting looked at by the trainers after there was a scuffle. I don't think he got pulled for the excessive fighting, but I think Tippmann is willing to stand up for the guys, which is important for a center to do. And I'm very much so still supplanted on the Joe Tippmann is good train. I just think there's a little bit of a blip in the road right now, and I do think he's going to be an important part of this team.
We got Jameson Smith coming in with the super chat. He says, "This Hassan thing is missing me off. Eagles got us." I know what you were trying to say. It's okay.
Missing me off too, buddy.
Missing me off too. Yeah,
I'm
look,
all missed.
I don't think the Eagles got us. I think we knew damn well what we were getting into. He's from Philly. He did not want to leave Philly. He just wanted a new contract. And the Eagles said, "No, we're not paying you a new contract." And the Jets said, "Well, you're telling me you like playing in your current city and you don't like your current contract, but we're going to try and trade for you and bring you over here to a different city, and we're not going to give you a better contract. It just, maybe we'll do a little handshake thing when you show up to camp," and nothing happened. So I think the Jets knew exactly what they were doing when they did this. They were hoping he would probably show up to camp. Maybe they'd guarantee his first year, kind of like what we heard, or his only year, kind of like what we heard from Connor Hughes. I think Hassan Reddick is going to play. I would play hardball with him because he's not going to go into the final year of his contract wanting $25 to $28 million a year and sit out the entire year. It's just not going to happen. I'm a little surprised he's not doing a hold in where he shows up to camp and practice, but he's just unable to practice because his helmet's too tight or something stupid like that. Because he's lost, I think it's like $500,000 right now is where he's up to. Nice thing for us, we get to see a little bit more Will McDonald, get to see a little bit more Michael Clemens, guys that I think need more work as opposed to Hassan Reddick, who's a pro's pro from a play standpoint. So Green Bean, I'll throw this one to you. How are you feeling about Hassan Reddick right now?
Well, I don't like it either. But like you said, I think it's one of those things like Le'Veon Bell saw this, right? So he turned down a contract. And then, whether it was, let's just say, let's keep it to Reddick. So he's got a 14-5 contract. What is his deal? I think something like that,
Yep,
right?
that's right.
So
1 year, 14-5.
So if he doesn't play, holding out for 25, he has to get he could have 2 years of this contract, and it doesn't meet. If he signs for 25 next year, it's a net loss. So if he has anybody with half a brain around him, they would say, okay, here's the deadline, man. You know what I mean? It becomes a negative for you after this point, you're going to lose too much. And then the name and the the age, he'll be 30 next, I think, he's 29
September.
This year, right?
I think he'll be 30 in September.
Right. So then you're looking at next year. You're talking about a 31-year-old player that just held out all year, asking for $25 million. And again, even if he gets that, he would have to get 2 years at, 2-year contract just to recoup. So it's a interesting gamble. Money wise. Now he could say, look, I would rather give up the 14 million and not risk injury. I understand that side too, but I think that when you look at it in a very practical sense, it doesn't make sense for him because I think the label will also come with him, and nobody's going to want to do it, man. They'd rather just draft a pass rusher and pay him 2.6 than pay somebody who's 31 or 30 years old with a year off. $25 million. So I think he'll be here. I'd love to see it happen sooner than later, but it is frustrating. It's one of those things where you hate to see your team trade for somebody, a disgruntled player, and then just bring the disgrunt over to our house. You know what I mean? You think, why the hell did you do that? But I think once he's sacking quarterbacks in the fourth quarter, we're going to forget all about this. That's my honest thought. It's frustrating now, though.
Yeah, for me, with Joe Douglas and this contract potential negotiations, I would probably draw a hard line in the sand and say, like, hey, look, if you're missing, let's say past the Panthers game and you're not attending camp, we're not going to guarantee this contract for this year because there's a good shot you're going to wind up pulling a hamstring and not be effective till like late October anyway. So like we'll add incentives if you hit certain thresholds, but forget the guaranteed money at that point. Matt, your thoughts on Haason Reddick?
Yeah, that's a really good point, is when do you reach that threshold where you're worried about him being injured because of him not reporting and not being in shape? It's a very fine line. And that's part of the reason why, like, I want to see him here before, I would say before the Giants game, just because I want to give him that opportunity to ramp up for a couple of weeks before an actual game. And I know that there's been examples of, guys coming in and playing at a high level after holding out. Darrelle Revis in 2010 signed a week before the first game of the season. And then you had Chris Jones, who actually missed the game because of his holdout. I don't think that's the norm. I think that's an outlier. So I would like to see him within the next week or so get to camp.
Just want to acknowledge Snowball becoming a member of the Only Fans. Snowball, thank you so much. Got a little bit of lag going today. That's all right though. Snowball, you're the man.
Yeah, who is that? Me or is that you? What's going on?
I think it's on my end. I have an idea of how to fix it for next week.
I was trying to clap to it. I don't know if you picked it up. I was having a very hard time. Like,
funny,
hey, I was
really the way I route the audio, I don't hear the sound effects that come up, and it's really annoying because I want to hear it so I can react to it, and I know what the sound effects is, but it's just not. It's annoying. Otherwise, I get looped back. I have to like actually have like headphones on. I just don't like wearing headphones while I do this stuff.
You need a pair of headphones, Rye.
I really do. I need a pair of headphones for when we do the draft party next year because I couldn't hear a damn word that we were talking about last year.
Oh yeah,
probably a good thing.
Sure, you guys don't want headphones?
Dude, you were right. Good. I don't like hearing my own voice though. So can you like take out your voice when you're talking?
There might be a way to do it on the roadcast. I don't know. I worked in radio for a decade, so I got used to listening to the sound of my own voice in my headphones.
Dude, it was always like slightly off in it, so it's like I'm trying to talk and I'm hearing it at a slightly different pace, and it's like it's like driving me bonkers. That's all right. Samantha Bennett comes in with a 5 spot. Thank you so much. She says she's looking forward to the game this week. Samantha, we're glad to have you here. Always glad to have you. And yeah, we're amped up for it. It's the first time we're going to be able to see some like action here. We got to see the green-white scrimmage, and that was like a little bit of like a finally talking a little bit about football type stuff. Hype comes in, says McGovern's still rehabbing. Said he's a Jet on Instagram. So yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Yeah, hopefully we get him back. That's really what it comes down to. For no reason other than just depth, as much as I say like I'd like to see him starting at center, I want to see Tippmann start at center if he earns it. But I think McGovern should be here because we still have AVT, we still have John Simpson, and you don't know what's going to happen with the injury with AVT, and you don't know what's going to happen as far as competition-wise with John Simpson. He's got some holding issues, penalty issues, things like that. So I think it's just a good move all the way around.
Where did he say that on Instagram? Where he really said that? He said, I'm a Jet?
Yeah, I think he was wearing Jets stuff, and he had, I want to say, is the clean press is what he was doing? I think that's what he was. Or he was deadlifting. I saw the bar. It was like a still frame that I saw, so I didn't actually get to see what workout he was doing. Green Dog comes in and says, welcome back, boys. Let's go. Green Dog. Woof, 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 woof.
I like that green guy.
It's nice. He's all right. Hype comes in, says, I like Sauce's comments on Tyreek's contract. Number one, Jet for life reminded me that he signed a deal first of all rookies. It's not about the money, it's greatness. Sauce is going to be the highest paid corner at some point. It's going to happen, whether it's this offseason or the season after that, however Joe Douglas wants to kind of handle this situation, and depending on how much guaranteed money Woody wants to pay out in a given year. Like they might decide, hey, Sauce and Garrett, you're getting your money this year, or Sauce and Breece, you're getting your money this year, and then Garrett and Jermaine get their money next year. or something along those lines. But I do think Sauce is going to get $25 to $30 million a year on a 4 or 5 year contract, whatever he wants to sign from a duration standpoint. He'll be a lifetime Jet. But I did see his comments on Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill signed a 3-year, $90 million contract. And look, Miami's a tough team. They have taken a step back from an offensive line perspective, from a defensive line perspective, but they are a tough team. The heavy hitters from their weapon position and their quarterback gets the ball out fast. We pride ourselves on our pass rush and our defensive line. The best way to neutralize that is to get rid of the ball quickly. And I think it's going to cause us some problems. Green Bean, your thoughts on Sauce's comments on Tyreek Hill's contract and just Sauce in general in terms of the money he may get?
Well, I agree with you. I think Sauce will absolutely be the number one, the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. But I think he deserves it. I think he'll, I hate to jinx him. I'm damaged goods, everybody. And I hate to talk about future stuff, guarantees and everything, but Sauce has the makeup of just potentially one of the best players ever in the NFL. He's got the work ethic. He's like mild-mannered, calm, slow, collected, but intense, obviously talented. But he knows how to handle himself. And what I like about him too is that he handles himself a lot of the time with humor. Like it seems like there's like a big there's potential for some negative feels to be had, and he just kind of diffused it with humor on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. I think he's a very special player and person. The fact that he's commenting on Tyreek Hill's contract. I don't know. I mean, I have an old school mentality with this kind of stuff. Like, I want to believe that the players hate each other. I hate the jersey swaps at the end of games when we just get blown out and we're walking out of the stadium all dejected and they're laughing and hugging each other. And the guy
Did you
that
see
just
the
burned
comment
you
that
for
Sauce
2
had though?
touchdowns?
Sauce's comment was just like a bunch of letters. It was like he was frustrated that Tyreek Hill signed a contract.
I saw another one.
Maybe he had a
I'd have
second
to
one.
look.
I only saw the like gibberish one that seemed like he was frustrated he signed a contract.
Oh, really? Maybe I was thinking I'm thinking of something else then. There was another comment that I'm thinking of. Because I see Sauce's stuff every day. But anyway, then forget everything I said.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Tyreek Hill's contract, him staying in the AFC East, and Sauce's potential for his next contract?
Yeah, I think Sauce is going to get a gigantic bag from the Jets, and deservedly so. He's going to get paid as the number one corner in football. And that's kind of how I interpreted what I saw Sauce Gardner saying. It was kind of more along the lines of like, hey, this is a guy that's going to be really good that I'm going to have to cover now. So good luck to me, I guess.
He's going to have to shadow him, right? We're going to get that following of Sauce traveling for wide receiver 1 this year. Got to see a little bit in training camp. It was kind of nice to see. A little bit about the green and white scrimmage. If you guys haven't seen any of the stuff from the green and white scrimmage, I did post something over on my channel. It was all the first team reps with Aaron Rodgers and how the green and white scrimmage went. Usually it's televised, but the last 2 years, last year, I don't think we actually did a green and white scrimmage because we had the Hall of Fame game. But for some reason, they decided to have the green and white scrimmage like at Florham Park instead of at MetLife. So there was a lot of fans that were in attendance, and a bunch of fans could not actually see the practice. They were stuck behind the bleachers, and they couldn't actually get onto the, near the fence or anything. There was just no way to see it if you were over there. So I feel bad for those guys. But if you want to check it out, it's over on my channel, every play. We had 4 drives from the starters. We got to see Rodgers take us down inside the 8-yard line. Tittman snapped the ball over his head. We wound up settling for a field goal. That was on 2nd down and 8. The next drive, I'm not sure offhand who the running back was, but it was like RB3. Coughed up the football inside the red zone again, so we don't get any points that way. Then Rodgers takes us down inside the goal line. We had a few drops. AVT had a false start. He had another one today, but got pulled out of the green and white scrimmage early on that 3rd series and did not come back in for the rest of practice. Jets wound up stalling out inside the red zone. And then the final series, Series 4, was a 2-minute drill. Rodgers took us all the way down to I want to say it was like the 10-yard line. But we ran out of time. There was 3 seconds left. We wound up kicking a field goal. So it was 1st down from like the 10-yard line. But we didn't obviously get the opportunity to score a touchdown because you were just trying to get the points at that particular scenario-based thing. But one thing I did find interesting was we saw a lot of Todd Downing calling plays. And it was interesting because I didn't really I took note of it when I saw it, and I tried to pay attention the rest of practice, and I would say it was probably about a 75%, 25% Downing, Hackett kind of play calling situation. And we were moving the ball around. So I was pleasantly surprised, even with the Tippmann and the Isaiah Davis thing or whatever. Matt, your thoughts on the green and white scrimmage? Did we learn anything at all, or is it just kind of, more of the training camp hype stuff?
Yeah, I don't put a ton of stock into it because I think some days it feels like the defense wins and some days it feels like the offense wins. And if it was just one side winning all the time, that would be maybe a little bit more concerning about either the defense or offense, whichever one's not doing well, just being bad and not being good. So that felt like a defensive day to me for the most part. Now, there were some nice moments. That's not to say that there weren't nice moments for the offense, green and white scrimmage day. But, overall, I thought it was just a lot of a strong performance from the line in particular. I think has looked really good the last few practices, getting pressure on the quarterback. So don't take away a ton from it, although the Downing thing is a little interesting. I wonder if we see that in game.
I think we're going to see it this weekend. I don't know if you'll see a half and a half, or it'll be a full game of Downing, then a full game of Hackett, and they kind of go back and forth, or maybe Hackett just calls the red zone offense and Downing calls, plays between the 20. I don't really know how they're going to, job share it, but it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. One thing to note during the green and white scrimmage, we didn't have Tyron Smith. We didn't have Morgan Moses. AVT got pulled out of that third series, and then we didn't obviously have Sauce or Hassan Reddick on the defensive side of the ball. Green Bean, your thoughts on the green and white scrimmage and any notes that you took away from it?
Well, you know what's a bummer is that Isaiah Davis, who I'm excited about, had a really great run, right? And everybody goes, you know what? This kid, all right. And then he fumbles. And, I see a lot of detractors and everything, but it just for him, I would love him to not have the up and the down, right? Obviously, if it's going to happen, you want it to happen now. I mean, it's green and white scrimmage is as important as, any other, Wednesday practice. So, so to speak, but it's a bummer for me. I really am excited about what the running back group can do. Obviously, Brees way at the front of that spear, but I'm excited about Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. I think there's even, the Jets fans that everybody knows Brees, everybody loves Brees, everybody's excited about Brees. And then you have another batch that's excited about Braylon Allen. But I think there's a smaller group that's adding Isaiah Davis to this. And clearly the Jets, they're already folding him in a lot. And I think they're equally as excited about him as maybe Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen's going to be the number 2, I think, is all but assured. But Isaiah Davis is going to get his reps. And I just, I don't know. It's a bummer to me. It's when you see really good stuff and then he has the most glaring besides the over the head snap thing, one of the more glaring, happenings, weaknesses, mistakes of the day. So it upsets me a little bit. But yeah, man, like you said, what I noticed, and I watched your video, Ryan. I think I was viewer number 22,000 or whatever it was, and 6. So it's doing well. But yeah, I mean, but the takeaway is that the offense is able to move the ball. Aaron Rodgers is able to go through his reads. There was a couple times that his first read was clearly covered, and he's able to, and it is just quarterback stuff, right? It's just NFL level shit, but we don't see it. And it's nice to see the potential of this offense. And Aaron Rodgers is able to do things that we haven't really seen with any consistency for a number of years. And even though those mistakes happened, the over the head snap made it, 20-something yard loss, so we ended up kicking a field goal. The fumble, I think that was, Lazard ended up at the end of the day, it would have been a touchdown, and he had a tough catch, he dropped it. But those things aside, like clearly the offense is able to move the ball. And I think that's the keynote. There's a lot of new pieces, whether you talk about the running, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, you're bringing in Malachi Corley, you got a whole new offensive line. Like you pointed out, even offensive line starters weren't necessarily playing. And overall, they looked pretty good, man. So offense is our Achilles heel. Quarterback being the center chunk of the Achilles heel, not to use
Don't
Achilles.
you
I should stop.
say it. Don't you
I
say it.
Yeah.
I will
God
freeze
damn.
you.
I don't like this. Jeez.
I don't think I have wood.
It's been our major weakness, everybody. So, like, the defense, they're going to be what they're going to be, I think. I don't want to just make assumptions, but I think our defense is primarily young, hungry, talented. They've been playing together. They're well coached. I have a lot of confidence in the defense. Seeing the offense move the ball is what really excited me about the green and white scrimmage.
I see Chance Little coming in saying, how confident should I be? I made a bet with a buddy at work. Losers of Jets Vikings week 5 has to wear the other team's jersey on 10-7. So I would say it's always kind of risky when you go overseas and you're like just in a neutral field environment. But from a skill perspective, I think the Jets should be beating the Vikings. So I think it's a fair bet. I don't think I don't know what the Jets are favored by. I would say maybe 4 points if I had to guess. And if it's straight up, I would, obviously take the Jets. Matt, what are your feelings on Jets Vikings in London?
I feel like that could be a sneaky trap game. I'm a little bit nervous about it, flying across the pond to play. Those games are also usually very weird. Like it comes down to like a late field goal or it's an overtime game or that's where we see an upset. The Jets are better than the Vikings. They should beat the Vikings, but every single year there's games where teams win when they're not supposed to, they lose when they're not supposed to, and that one just gives me a weird feeling. Last year was the Raiders. That game gave me a weird feeling on Sunday Night Football. Now I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be quarterbacking, so things got a little different at the time, but this is one I just look at before the schedule, and Minnesota and Pittsburgh, those are the two games where the Jets are better and they should win that game, but I'm a little bit nervous that those could be two games that maybe are a little bit harder than we anticipate right now.
Greenby, what are your thoughts on the Vikings London game?
Here's my thoughts on the Vikings London game. Number one, Dom C is going. So I'm gonna buy Dom C a really substantial backup battery so he can plug his phone in, have it on the entire time he's there, so I can be in his ear and I want info. I want to be talking to Dom the whole game, the whole weekend. I'm going to be bothering Dom. Where are you, man? Go talk to this guy. Let me see this guy. Well, where's he? Where's Gus? All those kinds of the things. But here's the really exciting thing. Sam Darnold. This is the way this season's going to break out, guys. This is the way it's going to break down. The Jets have been forced us to live in a torture chamber for a very, very long time. It just so happens that the Jets are playing 3 of our former quarterbacks, our former starting quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, Geno Smith, and Sam Darnold, who today got some time, is listed as the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. I think that if Sam Darnold starts that game, there is no way the Jets don't win. We are going to go on a revenge tour. This is the year, guys. This is the damn year. It's built to be the sweetest, biggest raspberry you ever did see, and we're going to get to eat it all season. We're going to beat a lot of teams, but we're going to beat head-to-head and make former people that we thought were going to take us to the promised land, whether that be second-round pick Geno Smith, second overall pick Zachy Poo Wilson, or third overall pick Sammy Boy Darnold, we're going to make everybody pay. So I think it's all but assured that we win that game because the football gods have planned it this way. And that's what I think, Ryan.
that's the way the cookie crumbles. That look, I want that to happen in the worst way. Now, I think the only players that are still from Sam's time here is Quinnen, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if we have another player pre-2020. Oh, Mosley, that's right. Is there anyone else in there?
Yeah, I'll tell you who
Douglas,
else.
I guess.
You want to know who's still here? Crossfire.
All of
Gitmo
us.
Bob.
The
Matt
13th
O'Leary.
man. Or
Yeah.
the 12th man or whatever.
Who's still here? Okay. Plenty of us were here when Sam was here.
I feel it. Hype comes in, says last season Hackett was calling the green zone. In Green Bay, he called the red zone plays. I can see it going back to that with Todd. I agree on Davis Bean. So yeah, hype agrees with the hype of the 3 running backs that we have in our stable right now. And Hackett calling plays in the red zone seems to make a lot of sense, especially if Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with that. Curly saying, I got my shirt in the mail. Thanks again. You didn't have to do that. Curly, thank you for sending over the tickets that we were able to give away. That was quite nice of you. And we are very, very happy that we were able to share those with people, which now that I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure I have tickets for training camp that we could give away that I totally forgot about. I'm going to have to pull up my Ticketmaster account right now to see what we can give away. Anyone who's going to the Jets Commanders joint practice on Thursday, if you want to reach out to me via email, I'd like to try and put together some type of footage from that practice, but I'm obviously not going to be there. I'm going to be at work. But if you're going to that practice, let me know. jetstalk247@gmail.com. And how many tickets do we have? I think we have tickets for the 7th, and I think we got tickets for the 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the 7th is tomorrow's canceled for the public. Moved it to the 20th. So it's really the 13th and the 20th.
So I wonder if my tickets from the 7th are going to be good on the 20th. So
They
we'll
will.
wait on that one. Oh, cool. All right. So then the 13th, we got tickets. Let me just see how many we got. 2,
I'll be there
3,
on the 13th.
4.
That's the next time I'm going. Thank you,
So,
Ryan, for that.
all right. So Matt's got 2 tickets. I sent Richie a ticket. So that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tickets for August 13th. So tonight, let's do this. If you can go to the practice on August 13th, put a ticket emoji in the chat. Matt's going to keep track of this. We're going to create a little list. We've got 5 tickets to give away for the August 13th practice, and we're going to do that at the end of the show. But Curly, thank you so much for sending those tickets in. Was it last week that you did that? I'm glad you got your shirt. Alan comes in with a super chat, says, it's not Jets related, but I just guaranteed tonight that I will win my summer bowling league. First time in over 20 years. Alan, that's what I'm talking about. What's your average score in bowling? I'm interested to find out. I like bowling. I'm not very good. Meaning like my best, I've never broken 200. I'm usually like in the 180 to like 190 range. 220 average. Wow, Alan.
Wow.
I consider that really good.
Does Alan roll on the Sabbath?
I don't know.
Green
I'm
Bean
guessing-
got it.
I didn't get it.
I get it.
It's all right.
The dude abides.
Yeah.
You know what?
The dude
I wouldn't have got
abides.
that. I've seen it plenty of times, but I wouldn't have got that. Yuck, 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 yuck.
I just watched that movie with my son maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Really?
I was like, you know what? I just said, sit. It was like my wife and daughter were somewhere, and I just said, hey, come here. You ever see The Big Lebowski? And he goes, what's that? I said, sit down.
Oh, you're gonna learn.
When he
you're
cocks
gonna
the
be-
gun and like, look at this, I'm sick of this shit.
I tell you, I knew that was going to be a great movie when they were sticking his head in the toilet, like in the very beginning, and they go, you know where the money is now, Lebowski? And he goes, no, it's got to be down there somewhere. We should take another look. You know what I mean? They stuck his head back in there. It's got to be down there somewhere, man.
Bowling's like at least 2 for 2. I don't know a whole lot of bowling movies, but I know that one and I know Kingpin, and I thoroughly enjoy Kingpin as well. No one's
Kingpin's great.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good one. Hype comes in, says Salah's record at the end of the season, 35-33 with the Super Bowl ring. I'm assuming that's what his record would be if we had 20-0 is what we have to get. 20-0 would be a perfect season now. I like it. Let's make it happen. Jetpack comes in and says, I'll be at the London game and Nashville. Go Jets. So Jetpack, you'll have to try to link up with Dom over in London. Nashville, that's where Becca and I were going to try and go. And then I got a new job, so I'm probably not going to take any time off for it. So I'll just wind up being home for this year. But I'm very jealous. Those are the games that I would like to go to. Andrew Yale, the White Russian, famous drink of the Big Lebowski. All right, let's go into a little bit more conversation. Let's talk about the depth chart. Jets released their depth chart for the first time. And obviously not official. Things are going to change as we move on throughout this off-season process. Let me just throw up Hype's comment. Where did Hype go? Oh, I have it hidden. That's why. And we are going to move that down here. All right. Nightbot never qualifies me. Rigged. Yeah. I don't know. Nightbot's got a mind of its own. It's kind of a jerk. Sorry, Nightbot. All right. So depth chart. Talking a little depth chart. First off, starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, Andrew Peasley, Adrian Martinez with Jordan Travis coming in 5th. Green Bean, thoughts on the quarterback room? How many we keeping?
5.
I love it.
We're going to see. I tell you, it was a big surprise to see Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod up top. I think they were going to wait a little longer for that one. But Peasley, huh? I think Martinez is gonna beat him out. But I do think we're going to use. I mean, these are practice squad guys, in my opinion. So 2 quarterbacks, I think, we'll go into the season with. But I don't know. I think Martinez is. I'm more excited about Martinez and what he could potentially bring. I think he's got more upside, but admittedly, I'm not the Peasley expert either.
Matt, your thoughts on the quarterback?
Lot of guys that we're gonna unfortunately have to watch a lot of in Andrew Peasley and Adrian Martinez. I think, unfortunately, I don't expect to see a ton of Rodgers, Tyrod, and Jordan Travis doesn't seem ready. So it's gonna be the Peasley and Martinez show for a little bit.
Yeah.
I see Dom C in the chat. He says, "Hello, boys. Still no Reddick. Yeah, we're waiting on him. Dom, we were just talking about you. Glad you popped in.
He knows.
All good things, of course. Quarterback-wise, Rodgers, Tyrod, they're going to be the 2 that make the roster. I think one of Peasley or Martinez is going to be the practice squad guy. Other guy's going to get cut. Jordan Travis going to IR. We're not going to see him all season. That would be my guess. And we get the true redshirt year out of the young quarterback that we didn't get to do the last few years. Crossfire coming in with Super Chat. Thank you so much, dude. Says, it's all fine and dandy that everyone are going to these different games, but let's be serious for a minute. What's important is I will be at the Bronco game, just like some of you. Let's go Jets. Boys and girls, if you have not grabbed your ticket for Jets Broncos with myself, Matt and Greenbean, and Crossfire, and Blitz Crew, and Andrew, and everyone that I'm forgetting in between. We got a bunch of people coming. We are very, very excited to link up and go on the field following the game. It's going to be a good time. We're going to touch base with Richie after the game. Very, very excited. So Crossfire, thank you so much for giving us that little plug there. Allison, nice to have you in the chat, Allison. I thought Zach went to the Broncos. Why did he come back? I mean, it is his team, the Jets, I was just asking. I thought Aaron was playing with it last show. He was playing. It was just Bronco uniform. Allison, I've missed your gibberish in the worst way since we've been off, and I am very glad that you're here. Zach Wilson is on the Broncos, and he's apparently the 3rd-string quarterback by a wide margin, I think is what I last heard. And Aaron Rodgers is with the New York Jets. So, bam!
I love Allison more than everybody else. I need you guys to know that. As much as I like so many of you guys in the chat, Allison is my hands down #1 fave. I mean that sincerely. The best.
It's honestly, every time we get a super chat from Allison, I look forward to reading it because it makes me question my own comprehension on reading. And it's
That's
so
that's
fun.
what I was doing.
to-
I read it 3 times and I started laughing. I'm like, it's right, it's Allison. It's just,
I was
this is
like,
what
I don't know if
happens.
I'm going to get this right. I don't know if it's going to be right. It's funny. I get nervous kind of like that when I'm reading books with my kids. I was like, oh, I can't screw up this word. They're going to know that I did this. Or I'll mix like words up. And then Becca's like, you realize they have no idea what you're saying right now. And it's not going to change the story of this, duckling or whatever we're talking about. And there it is. So, Allison, thank you for that. Matt, any thoughts on Zach being on the Broncos? Allison chiming in for the first time?
Yes, so officially Zach is QB2 according to their unofficial depth chart. Bo Nix is QB3. Jared Stidham leading the pack in that race of heavyweights.
So I don't hope for injury, but man, do I hope that QB1 pops like a COVID test or something like that. And this isn't allowed to play. I want Zach Wilson for week 4 in the worst way, as Green Bean was talking about earlier here. Peter comes in and says, lots of good depth battles in camp/preseason, but after cut down to 53, we will still bring back good quality depth with a 16-man practice squad. I agree. We are going to have a good depth on the practice squad. The issue is we're going to have some really good players that we're going to have to cut, and other teams are going to take advantage of it, specifically when we get to the defensive side of this equation. And we'll talk about that momentarily. Green Bean, any thoughts on the depth battles? Let's go on the offensive side since we're on this particular slide right now.
All right. I got to look at it. I can't read that. Let me see. It's blurry to me. So what do we got? Garrett Wilson with Malik Taylor. I got to say this about Malik Taylor. I like Malik Taylor, and I'm rooting for Malik Taylor to make the roster. I think that, the guys like, the Gibsons and Brownlees and those guys of the world, they're fine and everything, but I think Malik Taylor is solid. Like, I think we know what we're going to get. He's had a couple of exciting moments, not much. He's been here a minute. The biggest one, remember, I think it was last year in the Hall of Fame game, the 50-yard Zach bomb. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So exciting.
Taylor has a little bit of he's got some wheels on him, which I don't really feel like. I feel like that's missing in our receiving core. Like, if I had to plug in one skill set that I don't feel super confident in, it's that burner that can take the top off the defense. Like, we have a 50-50 guy in Brownlee and Mike Williams and, Lazard, but not really a take the top off. Matt, what are your thoughts on the receiver position?
Yeah, there's a lot of names there, huh? Malik Taylor, you're right, though. He is someone who kind of can stretch the field a little bit. I'm a Brownlee guy, so I want Jason Brownlee to find his way to this roster. I think after a slow start, he's come on a little bit strong, but it's hard finding who's getting cut here. Who is not making it from this group? You think Irv Charles probably gets it because of the special team prowess, but do they carry 6? Do they carry 7? It very well could come down to Malik Taylor and Jason Brownlee for that last spot.
So you're talking Lazard, you got Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Corley, Irv Charles, probably Gibson. What did we carry last year? 7? Or did we do 6? Green Bean, do you know offhand? I think 7.
What'd you say?
I was just asking how many receivers are we carrying? Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I guess if 7, it's you're probably down to like a Malik Taylor or a Brownlee when it comes down to it. I think both those guys would probably make the practice squad. I don't think either one's going to get poached necessarily, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting battle. Gibson at the starting slot receiver over Malachi Corley is a little interesting until you realize the Jets kind of make everyone earn their stripes from a rookie perspective, so I'm not overly concerned about Corley there. Crossfire takes a little offense.
That's why Kenny Yeboah is behind Ruckert right now, by the way. He'll be taking that spot in a few minutes.
Oh, yeah? Crossfire comes in, says, I would take offense, but Allison is awesome. Crossfire, you got your own emoji, basically. The rigged emoji is pretty much all you. So we got some big love for you as well. Tight end wise, obviously we got Conklin and Ruckert, and then Yeboah and Kuntz are the next two behind them. Do we think we carry 4 tight ends? We'll go to Green Bean. You're the tight end guy. What do you think about how many tight ends we're going to carry this year?
Well,
Because we
I
don't
think
have
we
Barden
can.
anymore.
Correct. That's where I think the wiggle room is. So if they decide to, to not have the tight end, I'm sorry, the fullback, which looks like we did, but so I could see 4 tight ends being there. But here's the interesting thing. I wonder. I mean, Izzy seems like he's struggling. Like he's just kind of, I don't want to say in a doghouse, but he seems like he's kind of pushed aside. I expected to see him get more special teams looks, with his breakaway speed. But I don't know. Like, but if they decide to let Izzy go, or like put him on the practice squad and don't replace Bawden, the fullback, I could see 4 tight ends with Ferkser having that hybrid capacity. Because look, we've seen 12 personnel quite a bit, and we even saw 13 personnel last year, which is 3 tight ends, which was just tickled my fancy. It did. I love that kind of stuff. So if they're going to go that way, it makes sense to me. So Bawden, I think, look, we can like him all we want, but I don't think his blocking was like so dominant that you can't ignore it. He had a couple catches in addition. It's nothing really to write home about. There's nothing that Bawden brings. When you look at a Ferkser, even though the last couple of years not so much, his career he's a significant upgrade, especially if you're talking about like a spot duty kind of a person, tight end 4, fullback duties, things like that. I think it makes sense. So there's a route to that. There's a world where I could see that happening.
Question: as far as the running back position goes, you got Breece, Allen, and Davis, but you touched on Issy Abanikanda possibly not making the roster. What if there was like an interesting situation where they decided to like slot in Corley as running back 4 just for like namesake, not necessarily to like utilize him there all the time, but we've seen him line up in the slot and then come back into that like Deebo Samuel type role where he's lined up next to Aaron Rodgers anyway. That would be an interesting way to try and maneuver an extra roster spot if you're trying to save one of these defensive linemen or an extra tight end, to Green Bean's point. Matt, I'll pose that question to you. What do you think about the tight ends and possibly maybe listing Corley as that RB4?
Yeah, I like the idea with Corley, right? Like use your versatile pieces to take up multiple spots. In a way, you could kind of make that case as well for the guy that they just signed, Ferkser, who was a little bit of a tight end fullback hybrid. Maybe he makes it, but I mean, they like Kenny Yeboah for his special teams ability, and I don't think he's surpassing Jeremy Ruckert or Tyler Conklin anytime soon, or Zach Kuntz even for that matter. But more of the story here, the tight end room is good. The depth chart looks about exactly how I anticipated it to. And I'm a big fan of your idea with Corley. That's not something that I thought of myself, but he is going to play that Deebo role, I think, anyway. So let's do it.
Green Bean, what do you think about Corley possibly slotting in as running back 4 just for like optics purposes?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting,
So my thought process, my real quick
Go
thought process on it is I think running back 4 regardless is someone you could kind of pick off the scrap heap if you had to. So it's more so just kind of finding a roster spot to plug him in. Like maybe it's carrying 3 running backs and you don't actually plug him in as running back 4 and you carry, just a heavier amount of wide receivers. But I think replacing running back 4 is going to be easier than holding on to, whoever our 4th running back is with Izzy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think it's more of like an emergency situation anyway, other than if you have packages that you want to use them. I think, that kind of a thing, just having players, the as much as you can mitigate useless players that are just doing nothing, the better, right? I mean, you don't want to overwork guys necessarily, but like if you can have a Ferkser instead of a Bawden and an Izzy, You know what I mean? That kind of, and then because Malachi Corley he's a wide receiver, but in a pinch can be a running back, or specific packages can do certain things. Like I like that sort of stuff. I like when you're able to maximize the roster, to, carry an extra wide receiver, carry an extra offensive lineman because of the potential. I won't mention it again. I'm going to try real hard to stop with the jinxie kind of shit. But I like that. I approve of that style of thinking. And I've the Jets in years past, like we were the team that would have a receiving only tight end and then blocking only tight ends. Like in the same way, I love tight ends. They're out there. They're all over the place that can, guess what? They can catch. And imagine this, they can block. You know what I mean? Like that's the guy you want. Go for that guy. But so many Jets organizations for years have chosen to go the route of having that exclusively passing tight end, and then to supplement that with a guy who can't catch, but he's a very good blocker. So I think when you can do stuff like that, Corley is a very interesting one, because if you guys don't know, he played running back and then carried that into the wide receiver position, which is why, really how he got a lot of the Yak King accolades and stuff. And look at his thighs, like he's built like a running back. Remember when Quincy Enunwa, they when he was healthy, what did they used to say about him? He played wide receiver like a running back. And we saw fantastic results because of that. So I think Corley, they know what they have in him. Again, he's a rookie and he's raw, and you don't want to overthink it, but I think there's a lot of potential for him to be utilized in both capacities. So if that could save a roster spot as well, I think more power to it.
Yeah, and then when I start looking at the offensive line, I think Matt brought it up earlier, Chris Glazer as the backup center, even though Wes Schweitzer came in today, the interior part of our offensive line is what gives me a little bit of concern. I like our tackles. We are like 5 tackles deep when you consider Morgan Moses, Max Mitchell, Carter Warren, Olu, and Tyron. I'm pretty comfortable with that. If they feel like one of those guys or 2 of those guys have positional flexibility to kick inside to guard, maybe that would put a little bit more of my mind at ease. But seeing Jake Hansen, Chris Glazer, and Wes Schweitzer as like the one player away from all that does concern me a little bit. Matt, what are your thoughts on the interior or just the offensive line in general?
Yeah, I would really like a veteran name behind Joe Tippmann rather than like Chris Glazer or Xavier Newman. Wes Schweitzer doesn't really do it for me either, but I'm a big fan of the depth at the tackle spots. That I'm here for.
Jake dropping in says, "Do you guys think Aaron Rodgers makes the team? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen." Thanks, Jake. Glad to have you in here. Greenby, what are your thoughts on the offensive line? Specifically, I guess the whole thing, but I kind of made note of the interior offensive line portion being more of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. Look at it, guys. It's scary. Now, it'd be really great if one of those Jake Hansen, Chris Glazer, Wes Schweitzer characters, Xavier Newman fellas, was a second-round pick that you had a lot of confidence in and faith in and, excited about. But none of those guys, and who knows, but it's scary to look at because listen, here's the thing. What's missing right here, I know it's down a little bit to the second to last line there, but you should put Aaron Rodgers right behind them so you can see it, like right around where Brady Latham is. You should stick Aaron Rodgers there so you can see what's protecting his ass. You know what I mean? That's scary, man. And again, this is the rub with Joe Douglas. I love so much of what he does, and you cannot deny that this team is better than many, 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 many teams the Jets have had. And that's Joe Douglas, and we have him to thank for that. But boy, oh boy, does he dance with the devil, so to speak, with this offensive line shit. And I don't know why. I got big hopes for Brady Latham. I want to see Brady Latham climb the depth chart. I think if they give him the opportunity, he will. He's my type of offensive lineman. I liked him a whole bunch. So even with him, though, man, it's going to be a minute. So I just would rather, like Matt said, a vet, please. At least one.
Wouldn't it be kind of nice if like the wild amount of first round picks that we have on our defensive line or like across our defense, if we had like a little scattering of first round picks on the offensive side? Like it'd be nice on like the trenches, just that first round pick from however many years ago. He didn't quite work out over there, but he's got that crazy first round talent type of potential. He just needs to be unlocked. I feel like we don't have any of those guys. Like obviously you got, our starting 5 that we feel pretty comfortable with for the most part, but like there's no like 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻 or Takk McKinley or I don't know, running off names off the top of my head right now. Be nice if we had a few of those guys sitting around. All right, let's head over to the defensive side of this depth chart. And any thoughts here? We'll start on the defensive line and we'll work our way back. Obviously, this defensive line rotation is going to be beastly. We don't have Haason Reddick in there right now, so eventually it will be Jermaine Johnson and Haason Reddick as the 2 starting edges with Quinnen and 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻 in the middle. That is a scary defensive line, which would then push Clemens down a little bit in front of Takk McKinley. So you got Clemens, Fotu, Solomon Thomas, and Will McDonald. Those are 2 crazy defensive lines that have a lot of potential. I like what we've gotten out of Fotu. I've been high on Thomas the last 2 years. McKinley's been playing real well this training camp. Clemens obviously filling in for Haason Reddick. Whoever winds up being that spot, I'm going to feel a lot more confident with. And I like Will McDonald getting as many reps as he has. And then when you go to the 3rd layer down, you got McGregor and Smart and Taylor and like all these guys that are just too good that like, I shouldn't say too good, but like have so much potential that I don't want to cut and see like attempt to go on the practice squad because I don't think they're going to make it there. So Greenman, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on the defensive line and the depth we have?
Well, I think, there, I'll just say it the way I'm thinking it. There are no holes there. Like there's no glaring, and look, that we're talking without Haason Reddick, right? So he's listed as the 4th, but like look at this if the second team defensive line is better than most of the first teams we've trotted out and thought we were going to do something, make some noise and go to the Super Bowl, and we cheered our asses off. But, they didn't even match up with that group. And like, so there are guys like, here's the interesting rub for me is that I happen to like Tanzel Smart. I do. And he's an effort guy and he's really high energy and he's been like, right on the edge of making the roster for a couple years with us. But I think we've seen, like, what his ceiling is pretty confidently, right? You kind of know what he is. His ceiling is depth. And then you got a few guys, Leonard Taylor in particular is a guy that, like you said, like, do you want to expose him to waivers for Tanzel Smart? You know what I mean? And I don't, if you got to make that, unless he's in camp and he's lazy and he's fat and he doesn't care, and that's a different story. But if you're looking at guys that are neck and neck and you're going to keep one, like said, I like Tanzel Smart, but with this group of people here, it's real hard to justify, in my opinion, keeping a guy that what his ceiling is, and then you have a guy with just real high upside. I can see Tanzel Smart once again being the odd man out here. I do look for guys like Braden McGregor to make it. I happen to like him. I like him more than Watts. But I don't, even for those guys, I think it's going to be tough for some of these young guys that are exciting. In years past, these guys would be second string already. So you look at this defensive line, man, we are stacked. I mean, if you ever were looking for the term stacked to be defined, look right there. That's what stacked is.
Matt, what about you? What do you think about the defensive line?
It's really good. I can't wait for Haason Reddick to be back in the mix too, because that just makes it that much better. I don't love Michael Clemens with the first team, but have him slot back a little bit with Reddick jumping up there. And you guys bring up good points too with Eric Watts and Leonard Taylor and Braden McGregor. Like, these are UDFAs that we were excited about, but you're not going to be able to carry all those guys. It's going to be hard to sneak them onto practice squads. So what I think is going to happen here is during cutdown day, we're going to see a lot of Jets players get claimed by other teams. It's happened a lot the last 2 years, and I think it's going to happen again this season.
Aaron Daniels coming in says, have you guys heard or seen about Christian McCaffrey supposedly having a calf strain? I don't root for injuries, but interesting for week 1 if he's not 100%. Yeah, look, I would like to go against the 49ers while they're at 110%, health-wise, because I feel like if we can either keep pace or beat them at full strength when I feel like are clearly not, because Mike Williams is going to come back stronger as the season goes on. There's a lot of offensive line gelling that has to go on our side. The less reasons I have to doubt a potential win or performance by the Jets, I think I would prefer that. So Christian McCaffrey, as much as it would benefit us for him, not being at 100%, I would like to go against them at full strength to get a real true litmus test of where we stand right now. Matt, your thoughts about Christian McCaffrey's calf strain?
Yeah, that is going to play a really big factor. And Brandon Ayuk trade rumors swirling right now. I don't know, things coming up green right now. And as Aaron says, I'm not rooting for injuries. I would love to beat them at their full strength, but you got to take advantages when you can get them. And if you're going up against a lesser team and are able to get a big win on the road in week 1, that's huge for them.
Now, you brought up Brandon Ayuk real quick. The 2 teams that he's rumored to potentially be going to are the Patriots and the Browns. And I found myself in this weird conundrum when I was talking to my group of friends, because I was like, okay, if I'm looking at us as a pure 2-year window with Rodgers, would I almost prefer Ayuk and having to deal with him twice while he's on the Patriots, or against the Browns when I think that's a strong team, but I don't know how much of an upgrade he is versus what Jerry Jeudy is, assuming that's the trade that you'd see. How much more of I think Ayuk's a better player than Jeudy, but I don't know how much better that makes them. And then also having to deal with Ayuk 2 times a year, that could potentially cause us a loss, as opposed to the Browns, who do we play them next year? I don't know if we even play them next year. I guess we wind up on the same level. Matt, what are your thoughts on Ayuk and where he could potentially go?
I hope the dark horse team, Washington, gets back in the mix here, because I'd like to keep him in the NFC. On the scenario you just laid out, though, I don't want him in the division, because that's making Drake May's life easier. And long term, if Drake May ends up hitting and being good, that's a problem. So I don't want him helping out a young quarterback for the Pats.
Greenby, I want to get your thoughts on Ayuk going to the Browns or the Patriots, and then I also want to hear your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey maybe not being 100% for week 1.
All right, 2 things. First, on Ayuk, there's literally not even a second thought on where I would prefer he go, and that is the Browns. I don't want him here. Matt illustrated it very well. I don't want their young quarterback with they're tying all their hopes to have any additional opportunity to settle in. I want him to be tortured and scared and damaged and happy feet. That's what I want to see. I don't want him having a really one of the better bailout options, a guy that can make stuff happen out of nothing. In Ayuk, it's not even a question to me where I want to see him. I want the Patriots to be at the bottom, in the bottom of the toilet for 5 to 10 years. That's what I want to see. I want nothing good for those people. And that includes every single one of their fans and their fans' mothers and their grandfathers from the grave. And I don't care. I want every Patriot fan to suffer. That's what I want. I don't want them getting any nice things. So that's that.
Big old lump of coal in your stocking.
Yeah, it's right, man. And as far as do I want to play the Niners, the Niners could have everybody injured. I would not give 2 shits. Nobody ever remembers that stuff, Ryan. Never. Nobody. Oh, but that was the game, Christian McCaffrey. Nobody cares. It's about the record. It's about starting the season hot. If they have one less weapon, so if Ayuk's gone and then CMC is at, 50% or or he doesn't even play, great. I don't care. I'm not that guy that I need to beat teams at their best. Nobody cares at the end of the day. And I just want to win. That's it. And if we lose that game, that's a tough way to start the season. I don't want to do that on Monday night. I want to win. That's all I care about.
So I guess my counter to that, and maybe it just doesn't matter at all, because like you said, it's the record at the end of the year. But is there any mental standpoint from like, oh, they just lost Ayuk. Oh man, they don't have Christian McCaffrey because he can't play week 1, and we still lost to him. Like if that winds up happening, does that change the equation at all? Not that that would obviously dictate they might have more likely won if they had Christian McCaffrey anyway. But does the lack of those two players potentially being on that team for week 1 impact your feeling of our team and how we might be like slightly inflated for week 1 Green Bean?
No, it wouldn't for me. I mean, it's like, the beginning of the season is the beginning of the season, I mean, look, I think a loss is, no matter how it happens, is going to feel the same way, is going to have the same impact. But here's the thing, like that's getting deeper into the abstract. Like,
sure,
if they don't have Ayuk and they don't have CMC, that lessens their chance at beating us. There's no argument about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So wondering if we still lose, like I don't care. I just want any chips that can be stacked in our favor toward winning is all I care about. The emotional downturn of losing, anything that we can do to mitigate that being possible is where I stand today.
Allison comes in with another super chat, and I tried to read this prior to be prepped for this, and I'm still not prepped. Alan, Adams, Derek, Wilson, and Reese. With them all together, that would be a deadly team, along with Aaron being a quarterback. Can't forget, don't Quincy. The force is strong with you, Allison. I saw it was at whose comment was it in there that said read it like it's Yoda?
Wait, what's the OBJ stuff again? Remember we filled that out. We figured that out.
I think it's an emoji. I think that's what that is. I think it's like an emoji that doesn't appear in the chat. So I don't know.
What is it, Matt? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I'm still, my brain is all in a pretzel right now trying to decode this. I'm trying to think of like, we know she's a talk to text person.
So I'm thinking.
So this could be
Alan Lazard, Devontae Adams.
Okay. Who's Derek though?
I was thinking Carr initially. I was like, that makes no damn sense. Wilson and Reese, like
Derek Wilson. Maybe Garrett Wilson. Eric Wilson?
There you go. Garrett Wilson.
Garrett
yes.
Wilson.
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
And Brees. Okay.
Alan
Brees. Hold on.
And Brees. Oh, see, look at us go. We got the little decoder ring on.
We're killing it. We're killing it right now.
A deadly team with Aaron being the quarterback. Don't forget Quincy. Why are we is there another
Don't
word
forget him
for the English,
no,
like for the offense?
Don't Quincy. Don't Quincy's got to be something else.
Don't forget
Quincy.
No, because it's saying we got.
Well, Aaron being quarterback, can't forget. Don't Quincy. So don't sweat it. I'm trying to think of other things that could be Quincy that are like auto-correcting. Chat, help us out if you know. If you can help us out here. Please don't Quincy.
Forget.
We're gonna have to make a shirt about this. Please don't Quincy.
Don't Quincy.
But I want you to Quincy. I want you to Quincy all over the place.
That's a great shirt. Can't forget, don't Quincy. Jets.
There's not going to be anyone that buys that. I mean, what the hell are these people talking about?
I'd wear it.
Oh, don't forget the Quincy's in the team playing with the receivers.
What?
Sorry, Allison. Sorry, she popped this one in here. Don't forget the Quincy's in the team playing with the receivers. I still don't get it. I don't. Am I Quincy and Nunwa? If Quincy and Nunwa was here, is that where we're getting? That's where Curly's got that. He's thinking Quincy and Nunwa.
Quincy's in the team with playing with the receivers. Quincy's on the team.
You're gonna make me Quincy.
Playing with the receivers.
It can't be Quincy Williams.
That's where I thought she was talking about, but Quincy and Nunwa makes a lot more sense.
Maybe Quincy and Quinnen.
Right, that's where I was initially. Can't forget, don't Quincy's like the Williams. brothers. 2 trophies. Where are you, Allison? Come on back. Help
Help us out.
There's another super chat in there from her even too, by the way.
Did I miss it?
No, we just didn't get there yet.
No, I haven't. No, I think
No, oh, sorry. I saw the yellow from Crossfire, and my brain just linked that with Allison. So I spoke. Yeah, I'm all kinds of broken today, guys. I apologize for that.
See, Allison, this is what you do to our brains. Fried, sizzled, cooked.
Oh, fried.
Crossfire. Thank you so much for the super chat. It says, would you give up a first-round pick next year for Brandon Ayuk or Adams to have them for the 2-year window, then trade them or let them walk? If we were going all in, we might as well go all in. So the issue with Ayuk, I think he would be the player you'd want just because he's younger. He's going to need a massive contract. With Davante Adams, you can trade for him. I don't think it's going to cost you as much, and he's probably more likely to sign a more reasonable contract right now, trying to go for a ring. So I guess the short answer is if I had to give up a first-round pick, it's probably Brandon Ayuk, because I don't think it's going to cost a first-round pick to get Adams. Matt, what's your thoughts on this?
I agree with what you just laid out there. I don't think it's going to be a first to get Adams. Ayuk is a little bit more complicated because you have to pay right now, and you have other guys that you have to pay very soon. At least with Adams, he has an existing deal, but you could rework it. So Adams is my preference on who I would like to get, and I also don't think he would cost a first.
Green Bean, what about you? Brandon Ayuk or Davante Adams for this 2-year window if you had to give up a first-round pick?
Before I answer that, I want to just point out that Allison did chime back in for clarification. She said,
"Okay,
yes." That's so. There you go.
I see trophies. Jet up. All right.
Yes.
You know what, Allison? I agree. Yes.
Well, thank God.
Right. We got it. That's what wherever we landed, it was right. We did well. This was good tonight. Well, I'll tell you what, the overall sentiment from Crossfire, I agree with. We're going to go all in, right? I'm all about that. That said, I think we should start with the interior offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, if we're all in, let's make sure that the guy that can even make, the Allen Lazards of the world look good, let's make sure that guy is standing up. But if we're going to go Ayuk or Davante Adams, let's not forget, you guys talked about the money. You guys talked about the draft capital. Now, I would be willing to give a first-round pick, but here's the downside with that. I don't like it for the draft party next year, and that's important for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be fun, and I don't want to do that. But here's the other thing, guys. Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers already have a very, very well-established chemistry. So now it's been a minute since they've been together, but I think that's riding a bike. Where the Brandon Ayuk thing, it's not that it wouldn't be successful, but I think Davante Adams coming on this team would be really something to behold. Garrett Wilson with Davante Adams, Mike Williams, and then Malachi Corley, and I think Breece Hall and everybody, I think we would be borderline unstoppable. That's so I would probably go with Davante.
So we're pretty much in agreement there. Peter S. comes in and says, I agree with Bean. Patsies get a decade plus of losing. They earn more than that after the run they were on, so I would like to see them lose a lot as well. Sam, dropping in with 5 spot, thank you so much, says, what is a wide receiver if he does not have a quarterback to throw to him? We face Brissett twice. May stinks. We face Brissett twice. Is Brissett in New England now? Is that where he's at? Is that where he wound up? Okay. So I do think we are going to play Brissett twice because apparently May has not looked good. And like Joe Milton, is that right? Is that the right word? Yeah. Is the guy that's been showing out, which is funny because like his practice stats or practice tape that we've seen from like every stop that he's been in throughout college and now the pros, everyone falls in love with this kid in practice. And then he gets on the field and just cannot put it together in game time. And that being said, Brissett kind of smacked us around a little bit in the second half of that Washington game. So I guess that's true. I don't really want Brissett and Ayuk together. I'd rather the Browns beat up with the Ravens and the Steelers and the Bengals over there and let them do their thing. Matt, any thoughts on Brissett starting for the Patriots?
I think he is the perfect kind of bridge quarterback. I wanted the Jets to land him as a backup because I think he's the best backup on the market. And I think he could come in and just kind of manage the game and manage the offense for them. I would be shocked if Drake May doesn't play a single game this year. I think he gets on the field at some point. When's the second time the Jets and Pats play? That's my question.
I think it's the tail end of the season, if I'm not mistaken. I think if you go backwards, I think it's Miami. Is it Miami?
No,
New
it's
England,
not.
Buffalo?
Week 3 and week 8.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe
Earlier.
he may get in there by week 8.
All right.
So maybe not. Maybe we do see Brissett twice. I stand corrected.
Greenby, what about you? What are your thoughts on Brissett?
Well, I think Sam is saying that Brissett sucks too. I think, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
But Brissett doesn't suck. You know what I mean? He might not be, one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, but he definitely doesn't suck. He's a competent quarterback, and he can explode. Plus, he has the ability to beat you with his feet too. Like, he can take off. So if you add a Brandon Ayuk to that, it just increases the potential for that to happen. Again, if I'm looking at where I don't want Ayuk to go to the Browns either, and I think that's what Brian was kind of getting up to earlier. Like, we don't want to fortify the Browns. They're a serious competitor for the AFC. So I wouldn't want to strengthen them either. But if I had to choose, the Patriots being able to beat us or the Browns just getting a weapon when we don't even play them this year, unless it's in the playoffs, I'm going to choose the Browns all day. But I don't want to see Brissett. I'd hate to see Brissett with Ayuk because they're going to win some games because of that alone, in my opinion. So I want the Patriots to suck like they've never sucked before. That's what I want.
Going to go over to DeWedge real quick. Go back to here. Go me, New York Jets. We want a Super Bowl victory. Go Jets. DeWedge, thank you so much. Matt, could you please put in a poll question in the chat? Since we got a 20-spot donation, someone is going to get frozen, and the chat gets to decide who that is going to be. We'll jump back over to the depth chart momentarily. Jet Set Fool. New subscriber. I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but how do we feel about Tippmann? And if you were JD, who would you pay first, Sauce or Garrett Wilson? So Jet Set Fool, glad you are joining the crew. Always, happy to have you on here. Every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. This is where you'll find us. As far as Tippmann, yeah, look, there's some concern. I want to see McGovern come back in and at least push Tippmann and be an insurance policy in the event we need to maybe kick Tippmann out to guard and McGovern starts, or even McGovern be guard and Tippmann play center. Whatever it is, we have more interior offensive line depth. As far as who do I think the Jets will pay first and who will JD pay first, it's going to be Sauce. I think Sauce gets the bag first and foremost. I want to see Garrett a lifetime Jet, but I am not optimistic post Rodgers. I think if Rodgers is here for 2 years, I could see Garrett being utilized as a trade chip with him not wanting to play with a young quarterback. Now, if Jordan Travis winds up balling out, behind the scenes in the next year or two, then I think that takes that off the equation. Garrett's going to be here. It's not going to be a problem. But I do think there's going to be a lot hinging on who the quarterback is after Aaron for the future of Garrett Wilson, and if this coaching staff is here, and if they need to reload draft picks, because I think Garrett's going to get you a lot in a trade after this run here. Matt, your thoughts on Tippmann, and then who does Douglas pay first?
I think Tippmann ends up being okay. I know we're a little bit worried about him right now, but I think he's too talented not to figure this out. It's something that he can work through, and I think it's a bit of a confidence issue for him. it's not great. I'm not saying he deserves a pass, but I'm not gonna turn face on him right now. But with Sauce or Garrett, I would lean Sauce. I want both to stay, but I think Sauce is by far and away the number one corner in football. And since he's the best at his position, he's going to be the priority over any of the other guys.
Green Bean, what are you thinking as far as Tippmann goes, and Sauce or Garrett? Who's first?
Well, you got to look at it like this. While the offense thing, you want to keep whatever successful offensive pieces you can. Sauce is already a 2-time All-Pro. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I just think like those types of players are rare. I love Garrett Wilson, and I think if he had a real quarterback, he might be as well. I think he's got the skills to do it. But I agree with you. I think when it comes down to it, if there is a choice, Sauce is going to get the bag first. I don't, and then I think Garrett would be number 2. Then there's JJ and Brees, and I think there's no way that Sauce Gardner before Garrett Wilson. Well, it's an interesting thing because when you look at, and Frankie from Flatbush was talking about this when I had him on a couple of, I guess months ago now, but he was talking about the Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis signings, supporting the idea that the plan is to, give Brees a second contract, because then you have this, number one, you can save a lot of harder mileage from Brees, like get those 1-2 yard for first down types of gains, and not have to use Brees. You can smash Braylon Allen or Isaiah Davis into those piles and be pretty effective. But it gives you a running back. Those guys are going to be cheap for the next 4 years. So it gives you the opportunity to pay him and have, like, because you don't have to spend really any money on the rest of the group. And you have like this kind of core running back group that stays together for a while, that's versatile and all that. So it's interesting. I mean, and Brees isn't going to cost as much as Garrett. I like to believe that you're wrong about him wanting to leave after Rodgers. Hopefully we have an established quarterback that he's comfortable. Like maybe if it's Jordan Travis by then, that would be really cool. Because I would hate to lose Garrett Wilson. He's one of my absolute favorite Jets, man.
Yeah, I don't want to lose Garrett at all. I do think Brees, I think Sauce and Brees are going to be the first 2 guys paid, like you mentioned. Brees' contract, he's going into the final year of his deal next year. So it would make sense, figure out especially Super Bowl window for 2 years. Don't let him go into a lame duck season. I think they'll get those 2 done. And just from a purely like financial standpoint with the Johnsons, like when you give out a big contract and there's guaranteed money, that money has to go into escrow immediately, the guaranteed portion of it. So to try and pay all these guys at once, I think would be a tall task, especially because if Rodgers needs to rework his deal in any capacity, there's going to be some guaranteed money going that direction too. Dylan comes in and says, would you rather Adams or better depth on the offensive line? I think you can do both, because I think McGovern's not going to cost you a whole lot. So my option is going to be Devontae Adams. Because there's a real, Tigo was saying it last night on the stream. If Garrett Wilson gets a cracked rib or has to miss any time, and Mike Williams isn't 100% yet, and Lazard turns back into a pumpkin, this wide receiver room looks wildly different. So Adams kind of adds that extra juice for it. So I would say Adams here. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. I'm okay with the Jets offensive line depth. I know we just criticized the backup center and the interior offensive lineman stuff, so maybe that sounds a little hypocritical, but I'm really worried about if the Jets lose Garrett Wilson, their number 1 wide receiver. If the Jets lose their number 1 offensive lineman, Tyron Smith, they have a first-round pick that could get plugged in. So I feel better about that depth overall than the wide receiver depth.
Green Bean, what about you? Adams or O-line depth?
O-line depth all day. I would love Adams, don't get me wrong, but
look
we've
at
talked
that. Green Bean got frozen because he got voted. Boom!
Yeah.
Sorry, you're wrong. No, I'm sorry. You're not wrong, Green Bean. I love you. I'll give you a little kiss on the cheek there.
Oh, that was nice.
Right? See, I've never thought to do that. Ooh. I'll give you one too, Matt.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, geez. Welcome to Talkin' Jets. Crossfire, thank you for the super chat. It says, for all three of you, who would you trade first for interior offensive line? Matt first, then Ryan, then Green Bean. Okay, so Green Bean's the most valuable out of the three of us. He's on ice, too, so he's going to last longer. See? It's fresh.
Who would you trade a first for? So is he asking who would we give up a first-round pick for if we have to look
I thought he was
for an
talking about
interior
trading one of
offense?
us for a first-round pick. I thought that's what you were saying. All right, Matt, you
Who
pick.
would you-
Who would you trade a first-round pick for? That's tough because I don't know who's available. Offensive linemen don't really shake free in trades.
That was my thought. You're not going to be able to acquire a starting caliber offensive lineman at this point, especially on the interior offensive line. I feel like tackle is a little bit easier to trade for with contract disputes and stuff like that. But if we could be unrealistic, I would go for
Quentin
the
Nelson.
best center. Quentin Nelson. That's not a bad one. I was going to say Creed Humphrey. Best center in football. You move AVT back to left guard. You have Joe Tippmann play guard, and John Simpson becomes your swing guard. That's the route that
I like that. That's a good one. Green Bean, is there any interior offensive lineman you would throw a first at, or if you had to throw a first at to try and get, which interior offensive lineman would you want?
I don't know about a first for an interior. If we're just gonna play the game, maybe a Creed Humphrey, somebody like that.
You and Matt are on the same wavelength.
Who's the center in Baltimore again? His name is just escaping me.
Linderbaum.
Yeah. Somebody like that. I'd happily.
I said Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, Quentin
Although I guess
Nelson's
center's
a stud
probably
muffin.
the correct decision.
Yeah, because the great thing about that is that with that, you immediately, AVT is there, but Tippmann now becomes an incredible second string for the guard positions. You know what I mean? Now, if by that one move, you get Creed Humphrey, you get Linderbaum or one of these other guys, centers, you bring that in, Tippmann now he solidifies now the entirety of the offensive line is set. You got good backup, and Wes Schweitzer is less and less likely to be seen. Why is he still here? Besides come on with this. I can't believe it.
Wes Schweitzer's going to do something incredible this year. He's going to fall on a fumble or something in a critical moment, and we'll be like, "See, Green Bean, that's why he was here the whole time."
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, I'm in. I'll be like, Wes Schweitzer. I'll do the whole thing. I love it.
Jason Edwards coming in with a super chat. Jason's going to be with us on week 4. Talk Jets Broncos matchup. He says, I want to live in a world where we keep all our homegrown talent. However, sauce is our priority. Yes, I do agree with you as well. Crossfire. Both have stated they love being a Jet, but I think Sauce is more in love with being a Jet. Wilson loves it, but when the time comes, the money the money he will get will mean more, in my opinion. I think Garrett does want to be here. I really do. I think he's put his heart and soul into the team just as much as any of these other players has. I think the frustration of having Zach the last 2 years and having him get teed up on really bad throws, I think there's a little bit of that. I don't think it's so much he doesn't want to be in New York as much as it is hey, I want to play with a good quarterback. And if you're going to get a good quarterback, I'm down to stay and be here. And, honestly, these guys, I could see them taking slightly lower deals. They're going to, Sauce, I think, will break the bank. But, maybe there's a, hey, we want to keep this team together. Let's keep this going type of mentality with these guys. I would love to see it. I think the quarterback quality play is what's going to matter more to Wilson than the money in the end, because I think the money is going to be comparable no matter where he winds up going. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Crossfire on this one. I would think that Sauce is so going back to what we said earlier, that Sauce is arguably the best corner in football, where you can't make the case that Garrett Wilson's the best wide receiver in football. So I think Sauce knows his worth a little bit more. and is going to want to break the bank by a significant margin. Where Garrett, maybe not, and that's not a anti-Sauce statement. Like, I think both these guys do really love being Jets here, so I hope the answer is neither of them is going to be in love with getting the more money, but I think Garrett has been just as vocal, if not maybe even more vocal, about loving being a Jet.
Green Bean, any thoughts on Garrett and Sauce?
Well, that's a nice twist that Matt just presented. I think I was right there with Crossfire, but Matt presented. I like that. Here's the thing. I think that if we are winning and there is a reasonable, a reason to believe that will continue, I think both will want to stay here. But this is their career, man. Like, nobody's taking hometown discounts. That shit's over. You know what I mean? Like, in the real world, it doesn't happen anymore. It's up to Joe Douglas to figure out how to be creative and pay his boys. And that's where, like, the idea of bringing in a Devontae Adams or a Brandon Ayuk, or, it's like, I don't know. It becomes less attractive to me because you stand more of a chance in losing some of these guys. Like, what's better, getting Devontae Adams at the end of his career, although still dynamic and still great, or keeping Garrett Wilson? You know what I mean? Like, what's better? To me, it's keeping Garrett Wilson, a guy that we drafted who kind of worked his way up through sees the bad luck, feels the cloud of the New York Jets. And if we can win and keep this guy here, like, I think that's, it harkens back to a different age where teams were kept together for a long time and you had your players for their career. And I'd love to see, like, if I had to pick any players on this team to be Jets for life, it would be Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. That would be my top four. There's other guys, I'd love to see: Jamie Sherwood, Kenny Yeboah, those kinds of guys. But I think, right, I'd love to see that. And I think there's a path to it. You can do it. Whether or not, what we're offering a Garrett Wilson versus what, the Colts or whoever it might be come in and offer him. It might be one of those things where you're just going to lose a guy, and that sucks. But I hope it doesn't happen. If you do have a really good team and a really good chemistry and the money's close, then that's when you can keep guys. But if Aaron Rodgers retires and we're looking at an unproven Jordan Travis versus a Peasley in camp, it's going to be real hard.
Well, I also think it depends what happens with the coaching staff, because it's almost like that Jamal Adams situation, although I hate to, like, use that name because Garrett is like 50 times the player Jamal was and plays a far more important position. But the same sort of mindset when Douglas comes in, like, hey, I can trade this guy, get 2 first-round picks, and kind of reset the clock when we're eating a lot of dead cap. I think that might be where the calculation starts to come in once Rodgers is gone, and I hope that's not the case. I hope Travis winds up being the guy, and then we can kind of just ignore it. Because all the big money, aside from Breece's money is going to hit a little bit earlier than the other guys just because he's a second-round pick. But Garrett and Sauce, their money isn't really going to hit till 2026 in their 5th-year option. And then after that, you'll see the year-over-year kind of increase. So we'll see where it all pans out. I hope we keep them all. Sawyer says, what Jets are y'all drafting in fantasy this year? Can't stop drafting Garrett Wilson and Braylon Allen this year. So if I get pick number 1 in my draft, I am going Breece. Breece is going to be my number 1 pick. I don't care about Christian McCaffrey. I don't care about anyone else. I've been saying for the last year, Breece Hall. It's 100%. He's going to get 2,000 yards this year. I fully believe it. So Breece is going to be running back, is going to be pick 1 of 1 for me. I would be happy with Garrett, but I do think we're going to focus heavily on the running game. I like Braylon Allen a little bit later. I think he's a sneaky pickup for a lot of people. Mike Williams, I don't know where you wind up. I don't know where Mike Williams winds up going as far as, like, what round. Like, is he round 7, 8, somewhere like that deep, or is he like closer to the top because of name recognition? Matt, have you done any drafts yet, or any thoughts on where you would take guys?
I have not. But the order I think I would go for guys that I would like to draft would be Brees 1, Garrett would be next, and then honestly, I am buying Tyler Conklin stock. I think he's going to be a good. I think he's going to be a good fantasy tight end this year.
So I think you can get Conklin a lot later than people are going to take him. I think that's the value. I think from a value perspective, I think he's probably the best Jet you could add. Green Bean, any thoughts on the fantasy side of things?
I like so much that you saying I'm going to go Brees if I get the first pick isn't homeritis. You know what I mean?
Great, right?
It's
so
like fact. Good.
You could go for 1-1 and it's not crazy.
Like he's going round 1 in most drafts this year.
And probably top 3
you know what I mean?
or top 5.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue maybe some of the receivers, I guess, like Tyreek Hill or Chase or one of those guys as well. But like, I would take Brees 1.
Yeah, I mean it's just nice to like, you know, like, and that's the thing too. Like again, like when we talk about our general manager, and again, I'm not a homer. I have my gripes with him. I'm not happy about certain things, particularly the offensive line. But the idea that we have numerous players going to All-Pro status every year, and that we have players that are going to be taken in the first round of fantasy drafts by people that aren't Jets fans, because it's the smart move, you know, that says a lot, man. So I haven't put much thought into fantasy this year. I don't know if I'll play this year or not. My life is crazy right now, so it's hard to do that. But I did have a blast last year with the beanbagger one. So we might do it again, but I don't know. I'll tell you what, if I got the first pick, I will tell you right now, I'm taking Brees Hall.
I love it.
As well.
I love it. Matt, pick one of one. You going Brees?
Yes, I would.
Good,
I think Christian McCaffrey a little banged up. Is he going to repeat Madden curse? Brees Hall.
Love it.
Yep.
Knob deep. I like that. Garrett will be easier to replace in the draft, and the way wide receivers are dropping out the ass of the NCAA, Sauce is easily the harder player to replace. Oh, that's an interesting way to think about it too. I guess because we just haven't really had a receiver in a long time. I view Garrett as like, I mean, I think he's one of the best receivers we've ever had. But
no doubt.
And I guess like by comparison, we've had Cromartie, we've had Revis. Like Sauce is great, and he's having the best career of any corner coming out of college. It's just maybe there's like a curve that I almost grade the two of them on. But yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. There are a lot of really good wide receivers. I mean, we have receivers fall into the third round this past year that we were like, wow, this guy could have gone top of the second, where you don't really get that with corners. Corners are pretty much exclusively in the first round. Green Bean.
Dude, you had guys in the 5th and 6th round that were, I mean, potential studs. And I mean, look at, guys like Javon Baker, guys like Brendan Rice, and just on and on and on. I mean, it's just crazy. That's a great point. And like when you pull the emotions from it, if you look at this just business, that kind of thinking's got to be factored in. Like when you're looking at, maintaining, and trying to keep all the players that you can. I think Garrett Wilson is a special player, like his drive, his makeup, the kind of guy that gets kind of injured and then is back on the field 2 plays later. Like not everybody's Garrett Wilson, and that is special. At the same time, you can reproduce, a top wide receiver's input to the team much easier than finding a true lockdown cornerback. And Matt said it before, like arguably the best in the league. It's hard to find. It's hard to find.
Matt, your thoughts on Garrett being slightly easier to replace than a Sauce Gardner?
Well, I've been a Jets fan for roughly 20, I think this will be my 22nd season watching, like, and really understanding Jets football. I've seen them have 2 generational cornerbacks. I have yet to see a generational wide receiver. So I don't know about that. The Jets have not had the best wide receivers over the years. But But I get where Knob is coming from, and I get the points that you guys made as well, where Sauce is definitely, at worst, top 2 corner in the league. Garrett isn't top 2 yet. I believe that he's going to put up a monster season this year and is going to put himself in, the conversations with some of the best wide receivers in football. But I think with maybe just the Jets' past history at the position, it makes me a little bit nervous to call it easy to replace Garrett.
I think that was well said, Matt.
Yeah,
I do think
point.
Garrett can have like a Justin Jefferson caliber season with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher with such a good running back and the focal point there, but he's a special player for sure. Joe M says, "Yay! Let's hit that like button. Go Jets." Thank you, Joe. Boys and girls, hit that like button for every 25 likes we get on this video. Green Beans picking a qualifier for our t-shirt, jersey, hat, mug, pillow giveaway at the end of the show. And also, if you can go to the August 13th Jets training camp, put a ticket emoji in the chat. Matt's keeping track of that, and we are going to pick 5 winners. Do we do individual tickets? I guess we'll do individual tickets. We can do individual tickets.
Well, bad news, because we only have 2 people who put a ticket emoji.
All right. Well, then, if we only wind up having 2, then the first person pick gets 3 tickets, and the second person pick gets 2 tickets. That's what we'll wind up.
The odds are good over there, everybody.
Yep.
Get in on it.
If you want to go to the August 13th Jets training camp practice, we got tickets ready to give out. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. I see Jet Set Fool. It says, "Looks like I sparked a great debate." You did. You did. We like having you in here and causing a little bit of chaos. I love it. See, brand new subscriber chimes in. Who should JD pay first? It's a good question.
Allison's in the chat saying she tried to buy the Rogers Wilson shirt, but her credit card got declined, everybody. Or locked up,
your
not
credit
declined.
Card. I don't know what to tell you. No, I don't know. Let me take a look. It'll tell me if I
want that shirt.
No, it doesn't even say we haven't had a transaction go through. Check your bank.
Well,
it might be like if it's like maybe we're seen as like a questionable site or something like that. Maybe it was like a fraud alert thing. But I don't see any transaction that attempted to go through on our side.
There she goes. Now she just said it again, but with a super chat.
Interesting.
Allison's the best.
I found a shirt I was trying to buy. It says Rogers Wilson shirt. My card must be locked up. How many in stock? We got plenty in stock. It's a drop shipping site, so we could definitely get it to you. So if your card's locked up, don't worry about it. Let us give it a day or so. You'll be able to get one for sure. We definitely have plenty in stock. I mean, they're limited time. You have to get them while they're hot. No, it's okay. We got them.
Right.
We got them in the hopper. So it's not a problem. Kelvin says NFL Network just came out with their preseason power rankings, and the Jets are ranked 16th. I'm okay with the Jets being ranked 16th right now. I think on paper our roster is one of the top 2 in the league, top 3 in the league, but I think we have to earn it. I think there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of health issues. There's a lot of is Tyron Smith going to be healthy? Is Morgan Moses going to be healthy? Is AVT going to be healthy? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be healthy? There's a lot of questions. Mike Williams, is he going to be healthy? There's just a lot of question marks with this team, and 16 is fine with me until we prove otherwise. Matt, your thoughts?
And what's the deal with Tony Adams? Nobody knows.
Great, valid point. I think them being outside the top 10 is not something I'm going to get all bent out of shape over. I think as the year goes on, they're going to rise up that board, but again, they kind of have to prove it on the field after back-to-back 7-10 seasons. I think they do, as you mentioned, if you're looking at just rosters, and the Jets had the 16th roster in the NFL, I don't think that's fair. But again, some of these power rankings come with what have you done for me lately? So I'm not going to go up in arms over them being put 16th.
Crossfire chimes in. He says, my Talkin' Jets hat got ruined in the rainstorm last Saturday. My wife said she would buy me another, but I told her, why bother? I will just win another one soon. Ha ha. Because it's rigged. Rigged. Super rigged. Boys and girls, we have 5 minutes left in this stream. That went quick. Let's before we go over to the the wheel. Let's just give our final thoughts on the roster construction. Did I hit the button? Come on. Gonna go over. All right. Doesn't want to switch scenes. What a jerk. Not working for me right now.
That's a shame.
That's all right. And I have too many scenes built, so I don't actually know which one I had that thing in. Damn it. All right, that's okay. No roster, so we're just going to go. Let's see if it'll take me to the spin wheel slide. Bastard. No. Oh, you know what? I see what happened.
You broke it.
No, my Stream Deck, for whatever reason, was not logged in, which is kind of goofy. So let's go over here real quick. Let's see if bam! Look at it go. All right. Matt, real quick, your thoughts. Anything on the defensive side that jumped out at you? I would say Quantez Stiggers is right behind Sauce. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, it does make me feel good. He's been making a ton of plays in camp, and I can't wait to watch him get a long look in the preseason. That I think is going to be something that I'm looking for. But other than that, I think the defensive depth chart, not a whole lot to complain about. I think everything looks pretty much spot on.
Green Bean, any thoughts on the defensive depth chart?
What's the deal with this Tony Adams? That's my question.
Is he going
How good will Tony Adams be? Yeah, I mean, well, they're saying, he's coming into his own, right? Chuck Clark and Tony Adams have solidified the safety position. That'd be great. Wouldn't that be something? I like seeing Jamie and Sherwood listed as the starting third linebacker, even though we only use two most of the time. I like that. But I think Sherwood is coming into his own as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm really excited about this defense. I mean, we got some serious meat in this bag, don't we?
I think so. Let's just pull up the special teams depth chart real fast. One thing of note, Izzy Abanikanda not on the punt return or kick return team. Xavier Gibson leads the way right now. I do think Malachi Corley is knocked back a little bit because he's a rookie. But I was interested seeing Isaiah Davis as the second option back there either way. Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Well, I thought that was interesting too. I fully expected Izzy this was going to be where he was able to kind of hold his spot, so to speak. At least getting a look. And I think they will. This depth chart, these change constantly, but he's not even on there and he's getting no looks. I'm hoping before the end of the season because the preseason, because I think that he's got that potential. Like he gets past that first wave and he can burn it all the way to the end zone, but they must not feel all that confident in him. I think Isaiah Davis being there excites me. Like having like switching gears a little bit from like the shifty speed thing and just saying, no. Get some momentum and run right through them. I like that idea. I like that mentality. Physical from every aspect of the ball, from the defensive line and linebackers to the running backs, to the offensive line, to the tight ends, to the damn special teams. I like that mentality, and I hope to see it. I mean, in the preseason, we're going to see it. I think it's exciting to me.
So Matt Ryder comes in telling us exactly why Izzy is not on the kick return team because Izzy got hands like feet.
That's good.
I appreciate that one. Matt, any thoughts on the kick returner, punt returner?
My comment was going to be something similar about Izzy Abanikanda. I was going to say him not being here, and they list like 5 different names here for kick returner.
Dude,
is a little trouble.
Is that 2 names under kick returner in the 5th?
Yes, it is. So
it is. That's 5-6.
Oh, it is Tyler Harrell. Yeah, wow, it is. Okay.
Yeah. So
he's not one.
Yeah, is he not being one of the top 6 kick returners and being RB4 is worrisome if you're hoping that he makes the roster.
All right, boys and girls, we are going over to the baggage claim. Matt, how many people did we get for tickets for the 13th?
3.
3 people. Okay. So randomly mix them up. And
Why do you do it?
Just
Why
mix it
do
all
we
up. Mix it all up. Chat first number that pops up after one Jets drive Nas Escobar's comment. That'll be our first winner. Green Bean, you work on mixing up your list. Crossfire
I don't want
says
to
2.
mix it up. No,
Just
we
throw
do
some
it in a
numbers next to it.
workshop.
Just throw a number next to it. It's all right. Count from the
But how
bottom.
do we
I don't know.
Why can't
Crossfire-
we just?
Because
I don't know.
I didn't set it up. I
don't know
keep
how to do
forgetting to set it up, and it's like kind of annoying to try and do the random. Let's see if it pops up. Oh,
Just
never
pick
mind.
up a number randomly.
All right. You know what? It worked. Yeah, sorry.
Number 2.
Well, we're gonna do this
Is that what
one
we're
this way.
doing?
Number 2 is the first person to win tickets for the practice on August 13th. So who is number 2, Matt?
Crossfire. Oh no, wait, no, he's got Harlan Abraham is number 2.
I don't think Green Bean has any idea what's
Nope.
going on right now. Green Bean's an
that
old
would be
man yelling at
Nando.
clouds right now.
Or Matt. That's Matt's list. That's
Yeah,
Matt's
there
list.
you go.
Go ahead, Matt. I got it.
Nando.
Nando, you're gonna get
Yeah.
2 tickets. So we're gonna do 2 tickets for the first one, 2 tickets for the second one, we'll do 1 ticket for the third person. All right. Greg Gagne, after first comment, 1 or 3 after Greg Gagne's comment. Nando, reach out to me, jetstalk247@gmail.com or talkinjetshow@gmail.com. Crossfire says 3. So who's 3? Matt.
𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞𝐞.
𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞𝐞 is going to get 2 tickets.
He ain't going.
He's going. I have faith.
𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞
gonna go
lives in East Jabib.
Reach out, 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞. We'll send you the 2 tickets. And then who is our final person on there, Matt?
Eric Fox.
Eric Fox, you're going to get 1 ticket. So reach out to me, jetstalk247@gmail.com. I'll send those tickets over to you. Excited. All right. Green Bean, how many total people do we have on your list? Because I do have the random number generator up. It is actually working.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where
40.
it was not actually working.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why we were
interesting.
doing it
Okay.
this other way for a while.
I see. 41 tonight.
41. All right. So random number generator says 35. Who's 35?
Joe M is
Ooh,
35.
Joe M. You're going to win something tonight. Let's see what we get. Pillow. Look at that. Joe M, reach out to jetstalk247@gmail.com or talkinjetshow@gmail.com. We'll send you out a pillow, one of our fabulous monkeys, hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, all the good fun.
Have no fun.
We have so much fun here. Boys and girls, if you have not done so already, make sure you get your tickets for our Week 4 Jets Broncos ticket extravaganza. We're excited for it. On-field access following the game, drinks, music, food, courtesy of Tailgate Joe. And you get to hang out with us beautiful faces. And hopefully we're going to beat the ever-living snot out of the Broncos.
So I want to tell everybody something too before we go. So as you may or may not know, we're going to go to the Coney Island Cyclone the Saturday before that game. So September 28th, we're going to ride the Cyclone, do a Jets chant as we crescendo over the top into the first drop. Jake Assman has committed to coming as well with us. So I know Ryan's confirmed. I know Dom C is confirmed. I know Jeremy's confirmed. I am confirmed. I don't know if Matt is confirmed yet.
On September
but yeah,
Hell
Saturday.
yeah.
All right, so Matt O'Leary will be there, and Jake will be there as well. I'm going to reach out to Richie, too, and cordially invite him and Jack and some other dudes. But nice crew. Nice crew. I know John Hepburn will be there as well. Maybe Jason Edwards. Lots of guys from the chat come. It's a blast, man. So, and then we'll get some Brooklyn pizza afterwards. We're going to have a good time.
I love it. Matt, any last words for our chat?
Get your tickets and come hang out with us. It's going to be fun, I promise.
Boys and girls, we'll be back here 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Not tomorrow, Tuesday, next week. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And we'll all have our own content coming out throughout the week. And we are back on our semi-regular scheduled programming for Talkin' Jet stuff. So we got some stuff coming in and out throughout the week. Might be some slightly different times. We're adjusting as we go through the preseason. But keep on the lookout for that. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed. And we will see you next week. JETS.
Just go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the pouch. Screw green bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
And that's the other part of it, is the people are insanely jealous of this show. This show gets the best of the best, and it does a different way, with positivity.
He scores!
Ow, my head! No, come on.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family.
Hit those milk duns, boys and girls.
Freeze frame.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.
Jets!